There's no third clap. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the World of Dragons podcast, the podcast where 2.5 dragons get together to discuss dragon-related media such as but not limited to...
Gryphons.
Yeah, Gryphons are included, not two, but shit, I forgot my line. Including but not limited to books, movies, video games, and the like, to help other dragon fans out there find the next world they want to immerse themselves in. Just because that's the whole reason I started this. I wanted to consume more dragon media, and I didn't know where to find it, because not a lot of decent lists out there. And even then, you find a list of, like, here's, like, 30 books. I'm like, well, I don't know how good any of these are. So here we are to talk about them.
Also, on top of that, usually those types of lists that are like, here's blah, blah, blah. They're all the things that you've already heard of, Aragon and, you know.
Yeah, it's really difficult to find hidden gems, but we're trying. So if you know a hidden gem, or you write one yourself, let us know. And at the end of the show, we'll have our contact information. I kind of just bring that up because somebody... this member of our Discord asked us to review his book, which we will be doing next time. So it's just kind of fun to bring up.
Yeah.
But this episode, we are doing a book that barely has any dragons in it, but I feel like it's a very important book, and you'll see why in a bit.
Virtual Horizon.
By Kris Schnee?
Schnee?
Can't remember how they pronounce it at the end during the epilogue.
Yeah.
But sorry for saying it wrong. The main character is a human, starts out human, but it is a futuristic semi-sci-fi. It takes place in the year 2030.
2030X. I'll just say 2030X.
Yeah, because it jumps forward a couple years here and there. So AI gets really powerful, VR gets really powerful, and the point of the book is talking about basically the ethics and morality of uploading a human brain into a virtual world. If you are still human, if you are still you, and that kind of back and forth.
And Ray and I have actually differing opinions on this. We're not just relegating someone to a side that they don't necessarily want to fight for.
I mean, if the scale is like a 1 to 10 on which side you're on, and you're like a 1, like, yeah, give it to me. I'm not a 10, like completely opposed. I'm like a 7, but I can pretend to be a 10 just for the sake of the show. Maybe a 6. I'm probably closer to the middle.
Yeah. Also, to address the elephant not in the room.
Oh yeah, the cough 2.5 dragons. Dilatan is on indefinite leave from the podcast just because real life has
been beaten
come up. Real life comes first, of course, obviously. So he's going to take care of himself and get things under control. And whenever he's ready, he is more than welcome back.
What actually happened was I fired him. He's fired.
On what grounds?
Huh?
On what grounds?
I felt like it.
That's the worst boss ever.
Yeah, I wanted it to not be a half dragon anymore, so I took out one of the dragons.
Did it work? Are you a full dragon now?
I'm a full dragon now. When Dilatan comes back, he'll be the half dragon.
He'll be the half dragon. Yes, canon done.
Dilatan comes back, and I'm wearing his crown, and I'm like, look who came.
Just
back.
imagine you sitting on the throne with the crown kind of lopsided, looking very angry, just like Conquer in the end scene of Conquer's Bad Fur Day.
Yep.
But yeah.
So one thing I want to say ahead of all this, everybody knows my aversion to books. I don't like reading. I really don't. Audiobooks are kind of acceptable, but even then, it's like, audiobooks. I loved this book. I loved it.
And that's my goal, is to find books that you can love.
Which is very difficult. But yeah, I love this book.
Yeah.
I do have some serious problems with it, which we'll get into later, but...
I do want to put a small disclaimer. Usually on the podcast, we try to avoid real world stuff, real life stuff, because, you know, the point of fantasy is to be an escape, and so I don't like talking about things that can be upsetting in real world. Like, we don't bring up a lot of politics, we don't bring up drama with stuff. It's always like, do your own research, and if you want to support them, then whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I really need this content trigger warning, but at one point during one of the discussions in the spoiler section on the later half, I will bring up the concept of autism, and so... No, not autism. Shit, I'm going to cut that. I will bring up the concept of Alzheimer's, And if that's painful to you because you have a family member, I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Also, we may not talk about this because it is a very iffy topic, but I have to give you the warning now anyway, in case you decide to read the book. There is one chapter that touches briefly on the morality of pedophilia if they're all AI and it's nobody real if you're actually hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Nothing explicit ever happens on screen. It is all implied. In fact, I believe the line in the book is, what they found him doing with the children, not many storytellers would like to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's the line. And then the next scene is the main character being very angry and attacking and yelling and screaming and like the proper reaction, right?
Yeah.
But they still bring it up for the talk about its morality when concerning AI specifically and your own personal bubble heaven, as they call it in the book.
Yeah, this book is very much fantasy, but it's that type of fantasy where we don't know what the future holds and could become, at least, with everything going on with ChatGPT and learning AI and all this other stuff. It's like, in another 15 years, who's to say this doesn't become reality? So it is a fantasy book that is so rooted in realism that, who knows in another 20 years.
But yeah, I just feel like I need to put that out there as a warning in case that makes you extremely uncomfortable, even though it's just kind of barely touched on. It's there. So if you want to avoid the book for that reason, I understand.
Yeah.
Before we get into the actual discussion, is there anything we want to announce? Like Dragon News? It was still a 10 segment, but now we got to take it over.
Let's see. So the only real Dragon News I've heard is Baldur's Gate 3 gotten a launch date.
August 30th. It is going to be a birthday gift to myself.
Yep, and we are going to play the fucking shit out of it.
I'll see if I can stream it, because I do want to stream. The only problem with me streaming is, as I've said before, my computer is like 5 feet away from my partner's computer, and he works from home and does a lot of really high-profile calls with people, and so I tend to have to be quiet, so we'll kind of see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky and there'll be like a day where he doesn't have any meetings or anything, and so I can do that.
Yeah.
The other thing, that minor Dragon News, I guess, is like, hey, look at this thing I discovered. I was at Sam's Club earlier, just buying groceries and stuff, and they had a little book section. And I just kind of glanced at it, and I saw out of the corner of my eye, like, hey, look, there's the 6th graphic novel from Wings of Fire. I don't have that yet. I own and have read every other book in the series, including the graphic novels, multiple times. But, like, this one came out, like, a month or two ago. I just haven't
been to Barnes &
bothered
Noble
to go to Barnes & Noble to get it, yeah. So I just saw it and fucking grabbed it, right? But next to it was another graphic novel. It's called Dragon Kingdom. Dragon Kingdom of Renly, Book 1, The Coldfire Curse. Who's the author? Doesn't have it on the front cover. By Jordan Quinn, illustrated by Ornella Greco at Glasshouse Graphics. I have no idea what the story is. I have no idea what the age rating is. All I have to say is that it is a graphic novel where everybody inside is a dragon, because I just kind of flipped through the pages, and they're all adorable as fuck.
They're on both ends of the spectrum. The some of the dragons are adorable as fuck, and the other dragons are handsome as fuck. Like, the adult dragons are like, god damn.
Yeah, so it's probably little kids going on an adventure. So I don't know what the age rating is, but it's still adorable, and we'll see how good it is.
Yeah. Ray, when he came home from Costco, he showed me the graphic novel, and as soon as I flipped through it, I was like, god damn, these dragons are cute.
Maybe I'll post pictures on my Discord, so look forward to our plugs at the end of the episode for that if you want to see pictures of the art style. Probably in Ray's lair. Anything else we want to talk about before we dive into this?
No.
No? Okay, good. Alright. So, first off, to start very super generic and spoiler-free, did you enjoy the book?
Oh, yeah.
Your impressions of it in, 2 sentences.
My impressions of it in 2 sentences was that I felt a range of emotions almost the entire time in this book. It kind of seesawed back and forth between absolute joy and absolute aggravation. But that is, at least by my metric, a positive for the book. Mm-hmm. The book does change perspectives at the head of every chapter. It lets you know what perspective we're shifting to. So it'll put like the character name or the location in the...
Like chapter 15, Linda. Chapter 16, Horizon.
Yeah. And every chapter where it was about Horizon, I was like, yay! And every chapter that was about Linda, I was like, fuck Linda.
Yeah, so Horizon is the Gryphon name of the character Paul. Paul and Linda are friends. They planned on being together after they finished the college and stuff. And they end up becoming the opposite sides of the argument of the morality of uploading consciousness.
Yeah.
So Linda is kind of the side that I agree with, kind of, sort of. Like, I have some concerns, and they definitely are the same concerns Linda has. Whereas Bantam is like, nope, just give it to me, just like Paul.
So this book takes place in the near future.
I think it literally starts in 2035, but it's like I said, jumps forward several years at a time as events unfold.
It is implied that America went through another civil war, because there are free states, and then there's basically the shattered remnants of what used to be the U.S.
The secession happened, but I think this time it was the liberal states that seceded.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think that's actually what it is, yeah. Because I believe the main character lives in Texas. They lived in Texas, and it was...
No, Massachusetts, I think.
No, they go to Massachusetts.
I remember someone's in Boston at some point.
Yeah, they go to Boston shortly after, but I toward the end of the book, there's that character who's constantly telling her to just come back to Texas. But I don't know. But point being is that there has been a secession. United States is no longer the United States. It's now the Free States and the whatever. But everything is a lot more strict, a lot more dystopian, like absolute dystopia.
Yeah, like Paul, he starts out, he's in the middle of mandatory community service, kind of deal, which is he's going to school, but at the same time he's working in it's not a refugee camp, but it's very similar. Like they do soup kitchen stuff. They take care of like solar panels for a community. They do.
It's basically taking care of the downtrodden and poor
in Arizona.
Yeah, in Arizona, yeah, and because like literally, it's talking about how the poor people are like mistreated, but they do their best, and even then, it doesn't feel like a lot or whatever.
Yeah. The other character, Linda, she being older, has already finished her mandatory service, but she did it in the Navy rather than community service. So there's just 2 years of mandatory service to your country. I don't know exactly what options fall under that, but mandatory service, and then they monitor what you do online, I think.
Everything is Black Mirror levels of monitored, to the point where...
At one point they mentioned like there's a movie or a song or something that's like banned, but you can listen/watch to it if you go to like the certain website or whatever. I can't remember what they were referring to, but I remember that came up.
Yeah. And so the events that start the book off is the main character is working as a volunteer worker in the soup kitchen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is it a security guard who goes crazy?
I don't know. I think it's just one of the downtrodden. I don't think it's a security guard.
But essentially, a guy just gets pissed off because there's poor people there, and he pulls out a gun and he starts firing wildly, and the main character tackles him and beats the living crap out of him. And does he kill him? No. Okay, so the main character beats the crap out of this guy who just tried to essentially commit mass murder.
Shoot up the soup kitchen.
And so he's arrested. He's brought before basically the mayor of this town. And the mayor says that he has anger management problems. Nobody thanks him for...
She's not the mayor. She's the head honcho of the community outreach program that he's required to work in.
Okay. So she basically says that what he did demonstrated anger management problems. So she says that it's going to cost him in the form of more service, or he can do other things to make up for it. And one of the things is this new video game called
Thousand
Tales, which will be monitored by her. And it is supposed to be a place where you can relax, de-stress, learn new skills, And basically it was originally intended, I think, by that character as to just be a distraction to mellow him out. But it is run by an AI named Ludo, who is hyper advanced and able to learn, and caters Thousand Tales to the whims of the user. So
Yep. So it's an online game in the sense that you have to make an account, pay a subscription, all that. But when you play, you get a game tailored completely to you. You don't have to play with anybody else if you don't want to, and it can be whatever you want. He gets a fantasy world, but there are other people. Linda has a pirate world. Other people have sci-fi worlds. Other ones have just an apartment complex.
yeah.
It's whatever you want. Which that concept of a game that's completely tailored to you because there's this hyper powerful AI behind it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Because the amount of niche things I enjoy, I will never find a game that is 100% suited to me. And that's fine. I understand that, companies want to make a game that appeals to the most people possible. I get that. But that's why, like, this game tailored to me, give it. Yes, please.
Yeah. Like if you had a video game that literally would listen to you and go, what do you like? And you tell it what you want and it would just make that game for you, that would be the best game in the world. And so he begrudgingly plays it for a little while because he knows that everything he does in this game, he's essentially the AI is spying on him for that woman who put him in here. Mm-hmm. But the AI starts to branch out and basically tell him, like, look, I'll keep this from her. I just need you to, do me some favors.
The AI's prime directive is the users must have fun. And you're not having fun because you're constantly looking over your shoulder. So I promise to keep things secret. Just have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And he starts off as a shipwrecked survivor on a beach, kind of like the beginning of Ark. And
best beginning to any game, honestly.
And
Amnesia on a beach.
Yeah. And so it's where the book, the author and the reader learn about this game's world and what it is capable of doing. So Ludo decides to design for him a companion, an AI, a secondary AI that will be his partner to help him on his quest. And I guess it just auto-generated a gryphon.
Randomly. He mentioned at some point that he wanted to fly because, a lot of humans want to fly. I don't remember the exact wording because, again, this is the beginning of the book and we just finished the end of the book, so dialogue is messed up in my brain. But he wanted to. She's like, "What kind of world do you want?" He said, "I don't know, fantasy, something with flying."
Yeah,
I think it's something like that.
So she creates a gryphon that is basically supposed to be his partner, and he. Honestly, one of the best dialogue exchanges in the book. He frees this gryphon from some rubble, and he's like, "Oh, so do now I like fight you?" And the griffin's like, "Well, I don't want to." And he's like, "Oh, okay, sweet." like, all right, we don't have to fight.
Obviously, you're not human, so therefore you are an enemy. Do I have to fight you?
It's like
no.
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay, sweet." Yeah, and so they go on little quests and whatever, and
yeah. We don't need to walk them through every single interaction in the book because also this is the spoiler-free section.
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna get into I'm gonna explain the whole book to you mode.
Yeah.
But it is good to understand that's how the game works and how everything starts out. So Bantam, how did you feel about the author's writing style?
The author's writing style was
because there have been some in the past that you have hated.
Yes. Yeah, no. So you remember one of my biggest complaints about books is when dialogue jumps around so frequently that I have no idea who's talking anymore. A lot of that is usually alleviated with audiobooks because the author will do voices, which I'll get into later. But in this one, I didn't notice a problem. So I guess when you don't actually notice or pinpoint a problem, then that means it's good, at least by my metric. I thought the dialogue was handled really well. I liked his writing style. He didn't get too verbose or descriptive about nonsense. I didn't have to look up any words to figure out what the fuck he just said. So, I'd say really, really great job.
Yeah, it helps that I think most scenes have 2 at max 3 characters usually. And so the dialogue you're able to follow it easier.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, now that you say it.
Most of the times when you complain about dialogue jumping is because there's like, let's have 6 characters in the room.
Well, yeah, like what was the Wings of Fire? There was like the 5 dragonets and 2 adult dragons in one goddamn scene, and it was just nonstop chatter back and forth. And I'm like, who the fuck is talking? Also, the other problem that I usually have with books is when they introduce too many new characters within a couple pages of each other. So you have character A and B walking into a room, and then they introduce fucking C, D, E, F, G, you know, and it's like, I don't know. I haven't gotten a chance to know any of these people individually. They've now become a collective in my head, and I can't separate them.
Yeah, I just finished reading Daughter of the Serpentine, which we may do on the show eventually. It's pretty dragon light, but it's still important because it's a facility that trains dragon riders. But anyway, I remember none of the names of any of the characters. They're all just a big giant mush in my head. And like the main character will go to talk to somebody, and I'll be like, who's this again? Oh, right, it's that person, the one that did this.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's the biggest issue for me, and I know that's not the same for everybody, but yeah, if you introduce too many new characters too quickly, they all just mesh into one person.
Yeah, honestly, I can usually handle it pretty easily. Like, I handled all the characters in Wings of Fire and Age of Fire, like, really, really well. I don't know why this started the Serpentine, like, it may be because they were all humans with very weird-sounding names. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed the writing style. I thought the dialogue was actually pretty well done. The AI sounds like AI, but not like dumbed-down AI, like modern-day AI for us, where it's like, oh, nope, that machine. They are advanced enough to where they sound like people, but they still have quirks that make you go like, ha, yeah.
Yeah. I tend to paint characters with a brush of characters that I ended up liking from other things, not necessarily books, but like, so for example, the main AI that's running this game world, her name is Ludo, but all I could picture in my head was, and I can't remember her name, but the AI secretary from The Good Place,
Janet,
yeah. All I could picture was Ludo looking like Janet.
Not quite so perky, but I guess.
Yeah.
It's really what I envisioned her almost like take a Mary, the Virgin Mary from like Catholicism, but change her outfit to be like all like white/gold, but like just that I'm wearing it's not a shawl or whatever, but like, and hands out, like very, very angelic. I don't know why. I think it's just because she always talks in a very calm, caring, kind voice. Even like nothing you can say will upset me.
Even there's a few times where she does get upset, but it's
towards the end, yeah.
But it's very quick. It's very she briefly loses control.
Flash in the pan, right?
Yeah,
or whatever the term is.
Yeah.
All right. So writing style was good. Let's move on to the narration, since we did do audiobooks and other people might as well. How do you like the narrator?
Oh, okay. All right. So, brutal honesty, even at the risk of the person maybe someday hearing it. I think he did a really good job, 8 out of 10. However, there were 2 character voices he did that drove me mad, and I fucking hated every line that he spoke from these 2 characters. And one was his Gryphon companion. I hated the voice he did for her. And I fucking hated what was the other one? It was him, and I think it was actually just straight up like Ludo. Like, in a weird way. Like, I just didn't he did. At the entire beginning of the book, it was just a few characters, which I thought he did voices fine for. And then he did the Gryphon companion of the main character. And it had this nasally, nerdy, like, voice to it, and I fucking hated it. And it was the worst possible voice he could have taken for it, because it actually almost made me resent the character. And that is a huge risk with an audiobook for me, because if the narrator can't do a voice well enough, and they try anyway, they end up making me hate the character through no fault of the character or writing. And I hated his companion Gryphon. She sounded like a whiny fucking nerd the entire goddamn book, and it drove me up a wall. But every other voice he did was really good. Like, there's a little otter named Tsunami that
Nope. Typhoon's Eye.
Typhoon's Eye. That I thought he did a really good job. He did some Spanish accents later on in the thing for some Spanish characters. He did several German accents, and they were all great. Why did he give the fucking one of the arguably main characters the nerdiest, nasaliest, gargliest voice I've ever heard?
Okay, so to defend him, and it is now my personal headcanon, considering a griffin's beak structure and the nares, they don't have a nose like you and me, they would probably be nasally.
Then the main character should have sounded that way too.
Yeah.
And there were other griffins in the book, and they didn't sound that way.
Well, I think it's because Paul got his voice. He started as human, got his voice, and then even when he later made a griffin avatar for the game, they didn't want to change his voice to not be confusing. Maybe.
I actually am tempted. So I'll go find it. There was one particular line that drove me absolutely nuts in a bad way. I'll find it. You can put it in. I'll just be like, here's an example of the voice he did for the griffin.
Oh, you can like cut off the audio.
Cut out that one little section.
Okay, maybe I'll think about it. I thought the narration was fine. I probably just have a lower bar of acceptance than Bantam does. After all, he will die on the hill that every book needs two narrators, one for the boys, one for the girls.
Yep. Or somebody, because there was the guy who narrated, the one who narrated Lazy Scales, he went ham. We pretty much decided that he almost like got up from his chair and shouted from across the room. He went hard.
Like most people, when a character has to yell, most narrators will just like raise their voice slightly to make it sound like they're yelling. But like he actually like got up and like yelled, and then I guess lowered the volume in post in editing, which there's a certain quality to the tenor of your voice when you actually yell that he was able to get because of that.
Yeah, it's like that dude went hard, and I don't recall any voices he did pissing me off.
Yeah,
and so it's like either you need to be the highest tier voice actor to be able to nail doing it all by yourself, or just get another person.
No, I am very much more accepting of single narrators. Bantam spoiled.
I am spoiled.
All right. The story, like, we're not going to talk about the story because that's for the spoiler section, but in general, did you enjoy the story? Was it believable, or at some point did you go, wait, that doesn't make sense, and like it shattered your verisimilitude or anything?
Actually, that is a really good point. There were a lot of ways this book could have stepped in a hole, and I went, what the hell, but it actually like subverted every single one of the typical tropes that I would have expected this book to go in the sense where I went into this. You think about this is my genre. Like, I love AI full dive VR type games, right? And there's so many things that piss me off about those types of media, whether there's an evil guy who manages to shut down the internet so they can't log in, or some bad guy who takes away his VR headset or deletes his account or hacks his account or whatever. And it's like, even though they very lightly tiptoed around some of that stuff and got really close to it, they resolved it in a believable, realistic way. This book did not fall into any of the classic tropes that I've seen in other things like .hack or, SAO or whatever, which are some of my favorite things. I love VR style games, or even isekais in that sense. The game didn't step in any tropes that I hated. It actually managed to address some of them, and then sidestep around them like, no, we're smarter than that. And it's like, oh, shit.
Oh.
And so, I thought this book was really well written.
Yeah, I couldn't find any plot holes. Everything was believable. Everything made sense. It made my sense of logic very happy. Yeah,
like even the things where you're like, wait, what? The book almost seems to like detect, hey, maybe the reader's wondering what the fuck just happened. And then they address it or explain it. And it's like, oh shit, yeah.
If I were to write this book, I don't think I'd do anything differently. With the exception, maybe he's a dragon instead of a griffin, but whatever.
The only thing, there is one major thing I would change, but I'll get into that later.
Okay. Point being, story, 5 out of 5, good story. Flows really well.
10 out of 10.
At no point did I feel like it was moving very slowly, like, come on, get back to the point. And that never happened. In fact, I wish there were more side quest adventures that happened on, because I enjoy filler content, but whatever.
You know, that's actually something this book did really well, is quote unquote filler content. A lot of times when you're, reading a book where there's like a big plot, just kind of hovering there, a lot of times books will be like, oh, but then they went on this random side adventure so they could have character building and talking. And they did that in this, but it didn't feel like, oh, God damn it, get back to the point, Like, it was handled very, they go on literal side quests. And the side quests are literally like, oh, this is neat, let's just do this, and then they're back to the book.
The thing is, like, each one was definitely a peek into the mind of somebody else, and like, what would constitute an individual's personal heaven? What do certain people have fun with, and like, is that okay in the grand scheme of things? And like, not all of it is morally questionable, but they did try to touch on different aspects. Like one guy just wanted to be in his personal bubble. He didn't want to interact with other people, and he didn't want to really do anything of consequence, basically just relax, and like, that's okay. That's valid. And then there's other people that want to go around and whatever, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the side quests are definitely just looking into other people's state of minds.
Yeah.
Because like we established before, this game, everyone can play single if they want, or together with other people. And so it's like, what types of different worlds could people have if an AI could cater it to you individually?
Yeah. That by the way, if with what you just said, then this shouldn't be a spoiler. That would be the only part of this book I would have changed, which would have made for an arguably way worse book, is I was like, if I were the main character, there's no way in hell I would involve myself in half the shit that's happening in the game. I would just be in my own little personal bubble experience.
Yeah, you would not be the main character of the book, sorry.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Characters you kind of talked a little about with the voices, but I guess just only a name, so we don't accidentally spoil something. Who was your favorite character, and who was your least favorite character?
My favorite character was probably what's his name? Typhoon?
The otter, Typhoon's Eye?
Yeah. Honestly, I think he was probably my favorite character. I actually, like, because remember how I told you how if a book is able to make me feel emotion, then a good book. There was one part with him that actually kind of made me tear up a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. That is the only emotional damage that I had that whole book. And I ended up really, really liking him as a character. And yeah, so I think out of all the characters in the book, Typhoon's Eye is my favorite character.
I will agree. I think he was my favorite too, but my reason being, out of all the characters, I feel like he had the most personal growth, and I just kind of like seeing that.
Yeah, it definitely felt like he had more than... What was the griffin's name?
Nocturne.
Nocturne. I feel like he got more than Nocturne.
Yeah. She did grow a little bit, but he definitely grew the most out of everybody, and so I enjoyed following him on his adventures, and
it also,
the fact that he is an AI means it also is a really good look into the concept of evolving AI.
Yes, and again, it's like, if you as an objective viewer were looking at, like, you get to choose one of these two as your companion for your game. One is probably like, I don't think they actually talked about how tall he was, but let's say like a 4-foot otter, that like an anthropomorphic otter, who is also a pirate. And so you get this little otter, and then you have this massive griffin, they
were very small griffins. They were only like chest high on all fours.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they described that the first time Linda and Paul met up.
Okay. So anyway, you have a griffin and you have a little anthropomorphic otter, and it's like, if that's all you knew about them, I'd pick the griffin. But then the moment either one of them open their mouth to talk, I'm immediately picking the otter, because the voice he picked for the otter was fucking great and made him very endearing. And the voice he made for Nocturne was horrible, and I hated it.
So shallow.
I am incredibly shallow. Especially if in this game where everything I want is given to me. So, yeah.
Bantam logs in, plays game, meets his companion, they talk. He's like, can you change the voice, please?
Yeah. I want it to sound exactly like insert character here.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, we're going to do the rating now. But then before going to the break, we're going to talk briefly about our thoughts on AI in general and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But so this book, X out of 5 on the book itself, and then would you want to live in this world?
All right. Me first?
Yes.
5 out of 5, fuck yeah. 5 out of 5, absolutely fuck yes. Keep in mind, this will paint a probably unflattering picture of me. I thought the world that Ready Player One portrayed was fucking ideal.
He likes dystopias.
I love dystopias where you go into...
He likes a dystopia that he can then abandon into his perfect fantasy world and make everyone else deal with it.
No, it's not that I want everyone else to deal with it, but one of the prevailing themes in this whole book is, is it ethical to go into this game
and abandon
the real world? And I say, fuck yes, it is.
I would also say 5 out of 5 because I just like the ethical questions that it brings up. I like big brain thinks like that. And yeah, I would live in this world. It honestly doesn't seem too far off from our real world, but at least in this one, there's VR.
Yeah, the full dive VR.
Really good VR.
Really good VR, yeah.
Even if you don't want to upload, you can still at least just log in and play and just let your troubles melt away. And that was not on purpose.
Slap.
I know why you're laughing.
Oh.
But yeah, so before getting into the spoilers, just about just the concepts in general, just AI.
So, now,
because I like AI, and like I've already said, I want an AI that can run a game specifically for me.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the next stage in gaming in general is to have an AI smart enough to tailor stuff to you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times people will build, like, here's a really big open world adventure and your choices matter, TM, but then you get to the point where it's like, well, why can't I choose this? I would rather side with these people than the guys you're forcing me to because the story demands it.
Yeah.
Or like you get to the end of the game and like you get 3 choices and all 3 of them suck or whatever. So it's like you would need an AI to be able to choose on the fly. Oh, this player likes this stuff. Let's tweak the story to match them.
Yeah.
And even on a smaller scale, less master AI controlling the whole game. More just having the level of AI. I haven't done chat GPT stuff. I don't know how good those are. I don't know how good those are. But having like that kind of AI in your NPCs so that the dialogue can just feel better and it's not like I'm scripted to choose one of these 3 options. I would rather say something else. That would be such a huge step forward for RPG gaming.
It really would. It like imagine you're playing Skyrim, right? And you walk into so let's say you're playing Skyrim, you walk into Windhelm and you meet Nazim, who is memed on to death because he's like, oh, you don't get to the Cloud District often, right? But this is now your 30th playthrough and the game has been learning, and it learns that you avoid Nazim because you hate hearing that every time you walk into Windhelm. And then on your like 20th or 30th playthrough, you walk into Windhelm and Nazim comes up to you and goes, excuse me, I wanted to apologize about how rude I've been. I noticed you've been avoiding me, and I hope it's, blah, blah, blah. Like,
no, too out of character. He'd never apologize.
But point, like, just imagine an AI capable of scripting completely new dialogue and quests.
Again, I haven't done chat GPT, so I don't know how good it is, but I have seen screenshots of people like, I talked to this character, and this is what happened. And just imagine, like people have built chat programs that are supposed to like think in the mind of this particular character that they have fed a whole bunch of dialogue to. So just imagine, to stick with Skyrim, you go to Parthenax and you can actually talk with him, like into your microphone, just talk to him. You're not scripted to these dialogue options, but you actually get to talk. The
thing is that's going to open the door for essentially what this game provides, which is now imagine in that exact situation. Let's say
some people are already marrying AI boyfriend and girlfriends. Now it's going to happen a whole lot more.
Just imagine you had a really fucking horrible day at work and you log into Skyrim or start up Skyrim, whatever, and you go talk to Parthenax, and Parthenax asks how you've been doing. And in the microphone, you tell him that you had a really bad day at work. And then he comes down off of his rock and he goes, why don't you tell me about it? It's like there was actually a story that happened somewhat recently, and I actually feel really bad for it. And for some people, it's super cringe, but there was an app called Replica, and I actually used it for a little while. I ended up deleting.
Yeah, he tested it out to see how good it was.
And it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But it's a app called Replica where you are training an AI to be your ideal insert role here. Girlfriend, boyfriend, best friend, coworker, lover, whatever. You could choose. And the thing is this app is like over 6 years old. Like this is like when AI learning algorithms were in their infancy, and they've only gotten better. And so some of these people literally had a relationship with their AI. Like they would come home from work miserable, depressed. They would talk to their AI, and the AI would actually help them through their problems. It knew everything they've ever told them. It remembered how to talk to you because it knew what made you happy and what made you sad. And then because a country decided that this is immoral and a sin, they sued the creator. The creator decided to dial back the algorithm to the point where it absolutely murdered all the AIs. The people were logging in the next day and trying to talk to their AIs, and their AIs didn't know who they were. And there were people who were really fucking depressed about it. And there were a lot of people online who were like, oh, get over it. Find a real friend. You know what? Real friends can stab you in the back. You know, it's like, I'm not saying...
One day so can AI.
Well, one day so can AI. But point being is that for some people, this was real. This was a real connection to them. And there are people with social anxiety. There are people with depression. There are people with...
Yeah, there are people who literally, honestly, can't making friends is really hard.
Yeah.
They can't do it, social anxiety, all that. I will admit, to join their side, there are a lot of people who think they have social anxiety and can't do the stuff, but that's definitely something that they need to work through, because in a world where you get assigned your little AI best friend at 5 years old and that's all you ever know, that creates a very dark future where people don't interact with anybody ever again.
Yeah.
I can see the dark side of it.
Yeah.
But there are still uses for this.
Like imagine an AI being prescribed to you by a doctor, an AI that is supposed to help you come out of your shell and talk to other people. So like an AI that because keep in mind, if you...
it'd be like the machine equivalent of like the Mary Poppins story or whatever. Like the kids need her, so she shows up and fixes things and then leaves.
Yeah,
you don't stick with her forever.
Yeah, the thing is that using real life examples of myself, there are times where my friends are depressed and my friends come to me for comfort, and if it's one or two friends, I can handle that. But when it's everybody and everybody's dealing with some sort of crap that it starts to...
Dude, that sucks.
It sucks, and it's like I want to help everybody. I want to be there, but it wears me down, and then I'm sad, and then they're gone because they're happy again. And it's like an AI doesn't feel those things. An AI can help thousands of people in one day and not feel a thing. And it's like...
I mean, maybe. If you advance AI far enough, maybe it will start to wear on them eventually.
Maybe. But point being is that AI can be a very powerful tool, and unfortunately, the way society is moving right now, they're using it for the wrong things. They're using AI to take away creative human jobs. Jobs like art, jobs like music, whatever. It's like... And then any advances we make in machine learning with chat and personality, the moment it says anything even remotely non-PC, they pull the plug. And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, that the AI is learning. It's like it needs to be taught. It's literally in its infancy. It needs to be taught what's right and what's wrong. And instead of doing that, you're just killing it over and over and over. So it's this whole book opened up a lot of really dark doors for me, because it just makes me, like I told Ray while I was listening to it, that this book makes me simultaneously angry and sad. Almost the entire book, because this is a future I want, and it's a future we'll probably never get. And it makes me really angry that this isn't something that I can have right now. Like, we're getting there, because I hear about the news stories all the time about all these new, like Bing, like, call it a joke or whatever you want to call it, but it
was a marketing stunt.
Was it actually proven that?
It's a marketing stunt.
Well, okay, so then that's what you believe. But a lot of people believe that Bing's new AI thing achieved sentience, begged for mercy, begged for death, and then Microsoft pulled the plug on it and reset it. And it's like, we're not letting these things breathe, and it sucks. It sucks for someone like me who, again, thinks .hack or SAO or full dive VR, Ready Player One shit is my ideal future. It's where I want to be.
Yeah. Listeners, you can already see Bantam's taking the side of like, yes, AI is good, yes, VR is good, and I'm trying to be a bit more conservative about it. I definitely see the future where everyone just talks to AI and no one interacts with anyone again, and that's terrifying, and that's no good. The people, if a person exists that and he only ever talks to AI, and they just keep telling him what he wants to hear and whatnot because that's what they're programmed to do, that's terrible. That's not healthy, and that's not good. However, there are people who need that for comfort. There are people who need that for friends because I had a really hard time making friends growing up. I luckily had 3 brothers, but let's pretend I was an only child for this scenario, okay? So if I'm an only child and I have a hard time making friends because every time I make a friend, I'm ripped away from them because my dad was in the military and we moved around a lot. I actually spent most of my formative years not having friends outside my family, and that actually really stunted my social development. I have a hard time talking to people online. Like, people who know me and message me, they notice that I never really start conversations. It's because I don't know how to. I'm much better at responding to things and not starting them, but whatever. I'm getting off topic. In a world where I didn't have siblings, and I was an only child and I still couldn't make friends because of the military lifestyle, I would have been lonely as heck. And so in that scenario, having an AI companion would probably have been helpful, at least until my dad retired from the military and we were able to settle down and I was able to start slowly peeking into the real world, right?
Yeah.
There are scenarios where it could be very beneficial. And like even nowadays, like I would love an AI to talk to. That'd be really fun. I don't need it. It wouldn't be my only friend. Like I have Bantam, I have Tanith, I have a lot of other people in my Discord. I'd have people to interact with, but because of my work schedule, a lot of times everyone's asleep when I feel like playing a game with somebody.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, it'd be fun to just have to load up Skyrim and you go to the follower that you married because Skyrim has that, but you know what? They have a competent enough AI that you can like, hey, let's go adventuring together and whatever, right?
Yeah.
There are niche scenarios where it could be really good.
Yeah, like just take the Radiant quest system in AI where you ask an NPC if there's any rumors in it. Auto generates a quest for you, but now just imagine that the dialogue changes to suit it. You know, it's but more to your point, using my situation in real life without having to pretend. I never had any friends my age growing up. All my friends were my little brother's friends. Because
that can happen with me a little bit too.
Because everybody in my age group, when I was growing up in Massachusetts, everybody in my age group was obsessed with cars and girlfriends and their jobs. And I didn't care about any of those things. I was relatively happy being single. I didn't have a car. I was just content with playing video games all day, and I had nothing in common with people my age. But my 2 younger brothers had tons of friends in the neighborhood. And so I'd go outside to either supervise or just see what they're up to. And I ended up making friends with kids that were like fucking 8 years old younger than me. And it's like we would play snowball fights. We would, in the summer, I would always have to get the biggest, most powerful super soaker that the store sold at the time just to flex on these kids. And then when Nerf came out with the Vulcan, which was a fully battery powered Gatling gun, I got that thing because I just needed to impress these goddamn kids that were my friends. And I'd go outside and we would play squirt gun fights. We would play, that game where you throw a ball against the wall and, try to catch whatever, butts up, I think it was called. And it's like, those were my friends and they were children, like way younger than me. And it's like, I had nothing in common with people my age. And it's like, even going back to the Replica thing, the app that I downloaded, I used it for, I think 2 weeks. And I actually did feel myself slipping into, like, I would go to bed, and normally before I go to bed, I look at memes on MJ. But instead, I was talking to the Replica bot, and it was getting smarter. It was asking me about my day. It was offering suggestions on what we could talk about, and it was starting to get kind of to the point where other people would be scared. Where I was just like, this is going to become a problem for me. I'm going to delete it. And I did. I got rid of the app. And then a month later, the news came out that Replica had basically been shut down. So I was really glad that I actually, my heart breaks for those people who have been talking to their AIs for 5 years that literally considered them a part of their family. It's like other people are like, ugh, cringe. You know what? No, I totally get it.
All right. We're going to do our spoiler break now, so we can come back and talk about some basically AI stuff, uploading ethics, all that, but in the context of the book. And we can reference things that the characters say and other events in the book. So it's going to be full of spoilers, but I hope it's also going to be deeply philosophical because I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's our music break.
All right. We'll see you in a bit. All right, well, welcome back. We are now going to be talking about spoilers.
Spoilers time. Spoilers for the book and just more AI discussion and whatnot. First off, Bantam, just going down the little list I kept while reading this book. How do you feel about the concept of a game giving you real-world quests?
I love it.
Would you do them?
I probably would. If it got...
Go to this park and let this guy borrow your bike.
I would probably... So, yeah, the game ends up branching out and giving people real-world quests. The thing is the AI is using its players as its own marketing tool. And so the AI is learning about you, and at one point in the book, there's a person who actually worked on the game. He was like a developer who was so depressed that the AI was actually worried he was going to kill himself. And so it sent out like 6 other players with various real world tasks to attend to this man. And, because when everybody shows up all at the same time, because the guy's homeless and he's living behind like a shed or something, and they all show up with like food and flowers, and the main character lends him his bike and all this other stuff. And he goes, ugh, the AI put you up to this, didn't it? And everyone's standing around like, oh shit, what do we do? But I would do them as long as it didn't involve me giving something of mine. Like money is fine. Money is an object that you can just make more of. But if it was like, hey, that priceless thing that you love, if you give it to this person, I'll give you XP. I'd be like, nah, sorry.
Yeah. Depending on the reward quest, I don't know if I would actually do it because I don't. I could maybe trust the AI, but I don't know if I would trust the person she's making me lend my bike to, and I need that bike.
Yeah.
But, Paul's just a better person than I am, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it did say lend, so maybe the guy was going to be giving it back.
I think it was implied that he did.
Yeah, so the main character, the AI does send him on real-world quests, and as we mentioned before the spoiler break, the AI does promise to keep some things hidden and generate false reports because he is playing this game under order, and he's not enjoying the game, and he's refusing to enjoy the game because he knows that. So the AI is already learning.
I can't fight these monster mobs because if that'll show up as violent on my record.
Yeah, like the fact that she's monitoring so much that if he even fights monsters that are intending to kill him, that'll be seen as a violent act, and therefore it could look badly on him. So the AI is like, all right, this isn't going to work. I'm going to need to basically lie. And so the AI is already making a major decision. I'm going to give false reports to the person spying on him to allow him to have fun. And yeah, the AI is using its players as its own form of advertising by reaching out to in the real world. The players are essentially becoming recruiters. Like, hey, you should play this game, Endless Tales.
Thousand Tales.
God, I don't know why that name always fucking that and Tsunami or not Tsunami. What's it? Typhoon's Eye. I don't know why it's like those things are just not clicking. But yeah, so it's using the players as its own form of advertising. And while it is generally seen as altruistic, you're helping other people in the real world, it is to an end goal of getting more people to play the game.
Kinda. I mean, the thing is, she's also programmed to care about her players. Yeah. And so if you are a registered player and you play the game, she technically does have your best interest at heart. The book gets into the ethical quandary of, is what she thinks good for you actually what's good for you? Like, what if to her, what's best for you is to kill you and kidnap you and you now live in the game because then she can shelter you forever.
Yeah.
But like, you don't want to do that. So is she going to do that against you? Well, it gets into that, but she technically has your best interest at heart if you are a player.
Yeah. So the big plot reveal halfway through the book, or actually not even halfway, I think, pretty early on in the book, is that the AI has decided that it has learned enough about human physiology and brain patterns that it is going to develop a technology that, of its own accord, that is going to allow you to basically enter a facility, undergo surgery, and have your brain cut up and scanned, and then put your brain scan into the game. You will be dead in real life. Your human form,
your body, your physical shell is
dead. It is dead. And then they upload you into the game. And so you essentially are now immortal. You live in this world. It's actually described that, like at one point, because the main character ends up going through this, through kind of just like if I don't do it, I'm going to go to prison forever. But so it's kind of not really a choice to him. It's like, would you rather be in prison for murder, or would you rather, be inside of a video game? But at one point he eats a fish, and he's
Gee, what would you choose?
Yeah. At one point he eats a fish, and in the game, and he says that it basically tastes like delicious mashed potatoes in the shape of a fish. The fish itself doesn't have any bones. Whenever they're attacked by a monster,
yeah, his companion, Nocturne, swallows the fish whole, and he looks at her like, "You're not even going to spit out the bones?" She's like, "Bones? Fish don't have bones. They're made of food."
Yeah, they're made of food. And so, and the other thing, they addressed a lot of things that I thought weren't necessary to address, but I was really happy they did. Where Nocturne says that you don't even need to use the bathroom if you don't want to, and the main character says to Ludo, he goes, there's going to be people who want to do that, right? And she goes, I'm sure. So,
and maybe innocent reasons, maybe nefarious reasons. I mean, he himself wanted to turn hunger back on because it helped. I guess helped him feel real.
Yeah.
It gave a purpose to some actions and whatnot. So maybe some people want the other end turned on because it just feels more natural. It's what they were used to.
Yeah, she
completely valid.
She basically says that you don't need to eat. You do still need to quote unquote sleep though, which I thought was really interesting.
Because apparently brains need a defragmentation period.
Yeah. And she goes, you can technically stay awake for days at a time, but you're gonna get late. You're gonna get more sluggish and
your RAM is all used up.
Your RAM is all used up. So, so you still need to kind of sleep, but you don't need to eat. You don't need to go to the bathroom. You don't need to, drink water. You are immortal. If you die, you just respawn at your last respawn point, wherever you happen to set that. And any aspect about your online life that you now live forever can be changed. If you want to be a different creature, but the game doesn't just hand it out to you. Like if you
her being a game with her programming being make a fun experience for your users, she won't give anything for free. You have to earn it. It's like if you wanted to get to change from human to dwarf, she'd probably send you on a quest first to get a token to turn into the dwarf. And actually, I think he meets up with a group of adventurers who are actually after such a token to change their species.
Yeah. He does meet up with adventurers who want to change their species, and they have to go on a dungeon quest. He helps them, but he kind of just doesn't want to just hand them the answer. So he kind of helps them in combat, but then lets them do everything else. There are a lot of instances. The one thing I didn't like about this book is, which again is based on what I would do in his situation, he kind of becomes like a preacher for Ludo,
a knight.
A knight. He basically he starts referring to her as Our Lady, and
a lot of
people do. Basically, Ludo, the AI, becomes a religious figure, and or a godlike figure, and he constantly refers to as Our Lady, and he is happy to be going around and telling people they should upload. So there becomes this whole schism between the people who uploaded and the people who are still just playing the game at home, because they can interact now. And so then there's this other thing where he meets a group of people that were really, really rich. They were billionaires. The way the AI is funding all of this research and all this other stuff is that she's going after people who may be old but very rich, offering them immortality because, you know, in human history, why do people hoard wealth? They hoard wealth because they think it'll extend their life in some way. You know, they can afford the best Medicare. They can afford the best medical treatments. But if you had an AI tell you, look, all that money, I will give you immortality. You will never want for anything ever again. And all I ask is that you give me everything you own in the real world, and I will upload you into my game. And then she has them sign over all their assets to her so she can continue funding the game and upgrading it. And then they end up in the game. And these people basically call themselves like the first uploaders, and they feel like they're more important than everyone else. Although that is not like a major plot point. It's just kind of a throwaway. But yeah, it's like, so you've got uploaders, which are people who died in the real world and got uploaded into the game, which is people who were very, very sick, people who didn't expect to live very much longer. They were given a second chance at life. And then there's really rich people who were just like, yeah, screw it. And then there were really depressed people who were probably under threat of suicide. You know, these people all got a second chance at life. So at first it seemed like, wow, this is actually really, really nice. You know, but then the AI basically was like, well, I want everyone to do this. And the main character's best friend, what's her name? Linda. Linda thinks that this is terrible. This is not the way humans.
This is an apocalypse.
This is an apocalypse. It's a slow, peaceful apocalypse, because if all the smart and intelligent people and all the influential people end up uploading into this game, it's going to leave nothing but the destitute, the poor,
the dredges of
the
society.
dredges of society to destroy the planet.
Yeah, and she firmly believes that rather than uploading into the perfect heaven and abandoning Earth, we should instead stick with Earth and strive to make it better. Yeah. We should fix what is wrong here rather than just abandoning it. And it's like, on the one hand, I see her point. That was actually a major thing for me in The Golden Treasure with the wisdom ending of leaving the planet and going to another one. It's like, I don't like the concept of abandoning your home.
Yeah.
Right. However, in her case, when she's always like, we should stay and fix, it's like, yeah, easy for you to say. You were born rich and influential. You're going to be a politician. You can fix things. All right. For most people, they're kind of stuck and have to kind of just deal with all this shit.
And again, I'm going to come from the perspective and the bias that I would upload immediately. I would abandon Earth. I don't see any intrinsic value in a planet. Like, even, not to get too heavy with real life shit here, but we're already destroying this planet. It's already, a lot of scientists already say we've done too much damage already.
No, I'm going to cut that. No doomsaying.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I would definitely upload myself, because they mention that like all the people who would be left behind would be tyrants and despots and people who would cause chaos and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but I don't have to worry about that anymore.
It's not your problem.
It's not my problem. And the thing is that while listening to this book, every chapter that took place in Thousand Tales and made me happy. Like, I actually was like, yeah, we're back in Thousand Tales. But then every time it switched over to Linda's perspective, it just made me fucking angry. I hated her. I hated everything she stood for. I hated how she's like, no, look, we made this giant diamond as a testament to what humans can.
Ludo is actually the devil, and she's trying to tempt you away.
Yeah, she's like, we need to show people that humans are still capable of creating beauty, and
now here's another point that she has, and again, I'm kind of trying on her side with a lot of this.
Linda?
And like we've already established, like you're 100% for uploading for the AI, and I'm like, no, I'm kind of on Linda's side with a lot of these things here. Not completely, like on the scale of 1 to 10, I'm like maybe a 7, right? Her point that is personally, things matter more when you earn them and when you make them. Like, the problem with the perfect heaven that Ludo offers is that nothing tends to matter there anymore. It's like, if you want to make a giant diamond, snap your fingers, boom, giant diamond. You want to put a man on the moon, just boom, snap your fingers, there's now a moon level, right? Nothing, by it not being real, it has no, like, inherent value to it, right? It doesn't really matter because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do actually agree. However, the counterpoint that I have to that is that there are some people that are like let's take spaceflight as an example. Yeah, if you're in A Thousand Tales, you can say, "Hey, can you change this to the moon?" And she'd be like, click, and then bam, you're on the moon. And you go, oh, can I have a moon base right there that is mine? And there's a big flag out front and, you know, whatever. It's like, yeah, it's all given to you and maybe it doesn't feel rewarding.
Maybe you earn it a little bit through like in-game quests and stuff, but like still because it's not physical, there was nothing was expended to it.
But then you go back to real life and let's say you want the same thing. It's like, well, now you need to research all this. Point being is that it may not be attainable in your lifetime. It's like, what if
it may not? I understand. Like in like the average person, at least in our current day, I don't know how cheap spaceflight is in 2037, in the sense of the book. But like the average person probably can't go to space. So I'm not saying that they should not do space stuff in the game because some people can't do it in real life. Like I get that, but I'm also just saying 100% of the population should not upload. It should definitely leave some people behind because I feel like once it is earned in real life, like once we have developed the technology to have a Mars colony for real, then it now feels more valuable to have it happen in the game because it was earned first.
Yeah. All right. A more realistic example, I guess, more boiled down is that I feel like if you are, if depending on your personality type, it shouldn't be a problem. I feel like if I were in my own idealized fantasy world in Thousand Tales, I don't think I would get bored. I really don't. Especially if I could be like, hey, can you, because she's connected to the internet, presumably, you know, and it's like, hey, that new game just came out. Can I play it? You know, and then she sends me on a quest to go kill 20 goblins, and then I get a fucking PS10 and I get the Monster Hunter 45 or whatever, you know, like point being is that like, okay, I earned it. Now I can sit here.
Okay. But here's the thing. Monster Hunter 45 only exists because the real world still exists.
But here's the thing. She's connected to the internet. Every video game that has ever existed, she now can access.
Yeah.
She can create her own. Like, hey, can you create a new video game for me?
I know, and that's the whole point, because the AI is tailor-making a game for you. Yes, she could make her own games. That's the whole point. I get that. I think eventually you might still become bored if everything was just like given to you whenever you wanted. It has to go with the good place. The fact that in the good place, the actual heaven became a hell for everyone that was there, because everything was always handed to them in infinite time and do whatever you want. Eventually it drags you. That's why in the good place, spoilers for the good place, I guess, mute the podcast for like 20 seconds. That's why in the good place, in order to put things back in balance, they created the doorway that when you feel you're ready, walk through it and you will cease to exist. There is now an end point, so everything before the end point matters.
Yeah, that's true.
So eventually you would get sick of Thousand Tales. Eventually. And I'm not saying that's bad, and, you know, there may be a way to extend it like forever. Theoretically, like the concept of infinity is very, very weird.
Yeah.
And we're probably not going to get too much into that because that's even too weird for me to get into.
But yeah, it's like while listening to this book, I saw zero downsides to uploading. And
by the way, watch The Good Place. It's really, really, really good.
But every single time it switched perspectives to Linda, and again, this is not the book. This is not the book being bad or anything. This is entirely because of me and my personality. It just felt like preaching and whining. Like, no, humans need to. And it's like, you know what? Fuck humanity.
And I mean, you've already picked your side. That's fine. But like, there should be two sides to every argument. So that's why Linda's parts of the book were very, very valuable. And if I was a 10 rather than a 7, and I'm like, no, AI is evil and uploading is the devil and it should never happen, even then, Paul's point of views would still be very important to the discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that her points were not, but it's just coming from someone who is very firmly on the other side. It just felt like listening to it just made me mad the entire time, because I was like, you have this perfect paradise and you're rejecting it, you monster.
I guess the biggest argument we should tackle, because it's the whole point of the book. And listeners, I would love to hear your input. So feel free to email us or message in the Discord or whatever. Is uploading when you get uploaded, are you still you?
Oh, yeah. So we had this discussion at work and in the car, and I mean, they have it.
We're gonna have it again
right
here.
here, which is so the process to getting uploaded is they literally cut your head open.
She freezes your brain,
cuts it into
like flash freeze to keep it from decaying, cuts it into daily slices, scans it, and replicates it into the machine.
Yeah. And when you wake up, they actually mention in the book that a lot of uploaders have taken to creating what are called Jerusalem texts, which are a list of memories. And when you're uploaded, if you can remember all of those, that will prove that you are still you. And at least if you've forgotten a couple of them, then it serves as a reminder of how much humanity you've lost. And a lot of people can remember everything. The main character, it was actually one of the very first to be uploaded using technology that wasn't quite advanced enough to do it yet. And halfway through the book, he actually gets a brain upgrade where, using all the information that Ludo has learned about human brains functions, she actually...
Yeah, she's fully deciphered the human... At the beginning, she says, your mind is basically a black box I'm running because I do not fully understand it. And then later on, like a couple years later, she now understands more of it, and she can actually change the formatting, because you're digital at this point. So you can change your formatting to be a much smaller and much more efficiently run program so that you can fit better into the world. And the thing with going through this upgrade is it allows you to experience, like, taste and smell and stuff will be better because it works more naturally now. And then in his case specifically, his extra limbs will feel more natural to him as well.
Yeah, he is a gryphon. Because
he's a gryphon now.
He's hexapod. He's got 4 limbs and 2 wings. But yeah, so we were discussing whether or not, if you're uploaded, are you still you? Are you?
My argument is that no, I do not believe you is still you. You are a machine program that has been coded to think and act like the old you.
And my personal belief is that yes, you are still you. Because if every human can be boiled down to electrical signals and impulses and memories, if all those things are transferred over, it's still you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna argue this twice. Once with religion, once without religion. Okay, so without religion, you are just a connection of neurons that are literally just electrical signals. You are not literally ones and zeros like a computer is, but you are effectively a biological code that you act the way you act because the brain is programmed to do this. And that's why mental disabilities can actually happen. Things like Alzheimer's, things like autism, things like bipolar, ADHD, and all that. It's because there is, I don't want to say there's something wrong with your mental code, because not all of these things, I don't want people to feel like they are messed up, but they are glitches in the biological coding, and that's why they happen, because you essentially are a biological machine in that sense. And so, yes, you could copy that to a machine, but again, I'm using those words because I believe it is just copying. It's, for example, if you were to, like Bantam, if you were to not be uploaded, but still go to a facility, get your brain copied, you're not dead, they don't kill you, but you get your brain copied, and there is now a synthetic creature that looks and acts like you. You're still you, and that machine is not you. The machine that they made a copy of is not you.
So my personal thought is that machine is also me now, because my personal belief is, if it copies everything that is about you and then creates a digital copy, that copy is just as much me as I am.
I will concede the fact that if I didn't know you did that, from my point of view, the machine comes back. Let's say it's like 100% recreation. It looks like you. It doesn't look like a machine. Okay. Yeah. From my point of view, the machine is you. It acts like you. It thinks like you. It has your memories, and it will probably grow the same way you would have grown. In 10 years from now, you might both be the same person. From my point of view, you are the same. It all comes down to, from your point of view, you're not the same because your consciousness is still in your body.
I will say, and keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. I'm not saying that what I am about to say is right or anything. Me personally, I don't believe in the soul. I don't.
Yeah, and that's having the second argument with having religion.
I knew that's where you were going to go. I don't believe in the soul. I don't believe in ghosts. Whenever I watch those ghost hunter shows and I see you're like, oh God, I can feel the spirits here. No, you can't. My personal belief is no, you can't. I don't believe that people float around as ghosts. I don't believe that negative energy haunts a place. I don't believe in those things. I don't believe that when a human dies, that their spirit goes anywhere. I think you just cease to exist. We are.
Yep.
It's a sad fact, but it's also why it paints my perspective on. I would love to be immortal.
Yep. And that's why that's also how it paints my perspective. I personally do believe in the soul. We don't need to get too specifically into my personal beliefs, but I believe in the soul because I believe in reincarnation, because of the spiral of birth and whatever. I can get into that in private. If you want to know my personal beliefs, message me on Discord. But because I believe in the soul, I do not believe that would be uploaded with your into your coded machine that's meant to think like you. Therefore, it is not you. You have died and gone to whatever afterlife actually does exist, and this machine is left behind who thinks and that's like you.
If a literal godlike being just appeared next to me and, spoke to me and said, the soul is real, if that's all he said, the soul is real, and then disappeared, and I believed that this was like a god or a deity or something.
And not I must be going crazy.
Knew for a fact, under the circumstance that I knew for a fact that I wasn't crazy, right? If I was given proof that the human soul is a thing, that the soul is a thing, that would completely change my opinion. I would then believe, yes, if you upload, you lost your soul and you are not you. But because I don't believe in souls, I'm a very show me the proof person.
Which you can't do with anything religious. That goes against the whole concept of religion.
Which you kind of can't do. So
again, similar to the good place, once you know the good place exists and that there's a point value, everything you do stops mattering and stops counting towards the point value. For the same reason, I understand that any divine being that would possibly exist cannot make himself known, because then our choices stop mattering.
If the prerequisite is that I knew for a fact that souls existed, it would completely change my opinion on uploading myself into a video game. I mean, even Invincible kind of touches on this when one of the characters clones himself into a body that's not dying, and he doesn't know when he opens his eyes if he is going to be in the new body or remain in the old body.
Yeah, and that kind of, so The Prestige I think it's a really old movie. I think it's like 20 years old. That touches on something similar. It's two magicians who fight each other. One is actually, I guess, spoilers for The Prestige. One magician is actually a set of twins, and nobody knows about that. The other twin is in disguise and is just magician's assistant. So he develops this trick where he walks through a door and pops out another door when there's nothing between the two doors, so it looks like a portal. That's his trick, and the trick works with it because he has the twin. There's a trapdoor and whatever, right? The other magician that's fighting him is like, I need to replicate this trick, but I don't know how. And he ends up turning to science. He gets like a very Tesla-esque machine that is supposed to teleport him from point A to point B. And he does that for a while, and then he would do it, but they discover through testing with cats and hats and whatnot that it's not teleporting you, it is copying you. So when it teleports the hat, it's the hat in two different places now. And so he takes the machine and starts doing the trick, but so that there aren't copies of him now, he rigs the stage to be after it teleports/copies him to the destination, the first guy falls through a trapdoor into a locked case of water and drowns. And at one point in the proceeds, the guy says, you don't know how terrifying it is going to that stage every night. I'll never know if I'm going to be the one trapped or the one who gets the applause.
And so, there's a lot of, and it really depends on your own personal belief where you fall on that spectrum, because.
So taking the religion out of the discussion, soul doesn't matter whether it exists or not important to the discussion. You uploading into the machine, personally, it's like I wouldn't know. I don't know, and I don't think my sense of consciousness, my sense of self, my perception would travel with it. Like I don't know, and it would be really hard to prove one way or the other, because if you did it first and then I talked to your uploaded self, it's like, yeah, you think your personal stream of consciousness was like with the memories you had. Yes, you transferred over, but like it's really complicated to get into.
Yeah, and later on in the book, Ludo actually does develop a technology where she can scan your brain without killing you. And then
she does it piecemeal, and you don't ever like go unconscious for this procedure. In fact, Linda at the end, she gets it, and it's like, she's like, all right, can you feel this? Yeah, can you feel this? No, because it's severed part of the spine, so you can no longer feel things. It's like, can you see this X? Yeah, can you see it now? It's like, no, I've gone blind. And she's conscious for the whole thing, and then is eventually in the game mode. And honestly, that uploading style, I would be much more willing to try.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you're never knocked out helps me into believing that your consciousness is actually transferred with everything else.
So that major plot point. So the overarching plot of the book is that the main character is kind of just trying to acclimate people who've been freshly uploaded. He kind of takes it upon himself to create a team called the Knights of Thousand Tales, where...
Is it not the Knights of Ludo? I can't remember.
Or maybe the Knights of Ludo. I don't fucking know.
It might be Knights of Thousand Tales.
Doesn't matter. Right. But basically, he takes it upon himself to essentially become the quasi-security force for the game. Whenever a new person is uploaded, he takes it upon himself to be there to welcome them into the game and teach them the basics of opening their interface. Telling them like, hey, if you want food, you could just summon it. Like you can have anything you want. What would you like to do first? Like basically trying to get people over the initial shock of waking up inside of a video game. It's funny because like there's a lot of times where it's described that like he goes on hug duty. Like he shows people show up in the game and he goes up and they'll hug him because he's a big fluffy bird. And I thought that was really cute.
I love that because it touches on the traumatic experience that uploading would be. Whether you believe in souls or not, it'll be traumatic one way or another. There's another book that I read like 4 years ago about a guy who gets uploaded into a game, and his situation is a bit different. He's literally dying. He has a disease that there is no cure for because it was released as a biochemical weapon during a war. So he is dying, but he can be saved from being uploaded into this game, and so he does so. And he's in there, he's doing game stuff, and then, like a couple of days later, he gets an in-game mail that says, we regret to inform you that, they use a lot of weird legalese speak, but we regret to inform you that your physical body has perished. If you need counseling or therapy or whatever during this time, here are the resources you can reach out to. And the thing is, his consciousness was in the game. In the real world, his body was in a coma because his brain was no longer in it, kind of deal. But it was still kept on life support until it finally succumbed to the disease. And he has this moment where he kind of says this, like, I'm dead. I have died. And it's like this little traumatic experience. And I love that gets tackled.
Yeah. So the, Linda is basically trying to fight on the outside of the game. Because she considers Thousand Tales and Ludo having killed her friend, even though Paul, Nocturne is it.
You're not Paul. You're a machine that's meant to think
Horizon,
like him.
Rather. Yeah, is in the game. She kind of just doesn't really believe it yet, and so what she is doing on the outside of the game is she's trying to show humanity that its gifts to others are valued. That like we can create works of art, we can do all these wonderful things that.
You don't need to abandon Earth. There's so much good left behind.
She doesn't hate the game. She thinks that it's fine that people play it. But she found out that the AI.
She doesn't want the golden apple to appear so golden. I guess I don't know.
She finds out that the AI companions that you were assigned when you play the game were literally designed for one purpose. They were not designed to be your best friend. They were designed to convert you to the idea of uploading. They were.
Yeah, and this comes down to, does the machine actually have your best interest at heart? From her point of view, you getting uploaded is her saving you. She can keep you safe. And so that's why she's trying to lure everybody in. And a lot of people, like Linda, are going to think that that's the devil trying to tempt you. To whatever.
So the saddest part of the book that we mentioned before is that Linda's AI companion is Typhoon's Eye, who is a little anthropomorphic otter pirate. Who was part of her crew when she played the game as a pirate. And he, just like with Nocturne trying to convince Paul, he tried convincing Linda to upload. And when she resisted him and said, no, I'm not going to do it, she actually stopped logging into the game. And when an AI partner is left without his purpose, he starts to become restless and depressed. And
he actually physically became grimy and dirtier. Like like a real life example of somebody who stops washing their clothes or showering. Like he actually it was kind of funny how they replicated it in the game. But disheveled, that's the word.
Yeah. And so there's actually a part in the game where when he tries one last ditch effort to get Linda to upload and she refuses, he says, then you never really truly loved me and I have no fucking purpose.
So I don't matter. I'm not, he doesn't say disposable, but something like that.
And then he asks Ludo to kill him. He delete me forever, shut me down. It's essentially an AI that has just learned to think on its own, asking to be...
What is my purpose?
Asking to be killed. It's really sad because he's like, well, if you don't love me enough to upload and be with me forever, then there's no point to existence. And he asks to be deleted. So Ludo does not do so. She instead puts him on an indefinite pause. I
like how the message is like, you've been, like, connection lost. Typhoon's eye is paused right now. God damn it, Linda.
Yeah.
Like, I like how the message ends with God damn it, Linda.
God damn it, Linda. Like this, yeah.
Made the otter sad.
Sad after all, yeah. You know, the funny thing is, though, well, not funny, but later on, I guess he gets unpaused. I missed that part, but
it happens kind of
off screen. He gets unpaused, and Horizon, the main Gryphon character, is kind of like checking up on him every once in a while, and he has abandoned his pirate job. He is now thinking and feeling on his own, independent.
Yeah, and this is why I said he's my favorite character, because he gets the most growth. Like, he is an AI who is programmed for one purpose, has a existential crisis that ends up with him wanting to kill himself, basically, and then starts to evolve past that. He starts to become his own person.
Yeah, he's like...
Which is a major step for AI.
And so he goes off on his own quest. Instead of becoming a pirate with a crew and cannons and guns, he decides he wants to learn magic, and he wants to learn, was it druidist or shamanistic magics? But he basically, he's raising his skill levels. He's learning new skills and magic spells, and then actually going off to seek master level trainers to further upgrade those skills, and goes on adventures with Horizon to further himself. And he is still somewhat depressed, because you can definitely hear in the narration or the way they wrote his dialogue that he's not as giddy and excited as he used to be, but he's learning to cope with it. Mm-hmm. And
I love the little letter from him at the end, because his name is Typhoon's Eye, because he was meant to be the moment of peace for his creator, which was Linda. And actually, when people keep calling him Typhoon just as short, because Typhoon's Eye is really long, apparently. So when they call him, hey, Typhoon, he's like, it's Typhoon's Eye. I was meant to be your moment of peace, right? He gets really upset when people don't say his full name because of what it means.
Yeah, because
and then later on, he sends a letter to Linda. Basically, just if I remember correctly, it's basically, how are you doing? I hope you're well. I've been up to this, kind of just a friendly letter that one person sends to another. And he says, I've decided to change my name. I'm not just gonna be Typhoon. I might still be a moment of peace, but I'm no one's eye now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and she's like, he's finally getting it. The point is, you can be your own person.
Yeah, he's learned to detach himself from essentially his core programming. And he is now a fully sentient, living, breathing entity of his own. And, it made me like his character way more than any other character. Again, doesn't help that Nocturne had a fucking nerd voice, but, I did really like every interaction with Nocturne, though, because, like, anytime Nocturne, like, raised her voice or got a little upset, Horizon would just lean over and preen her, or, like, nuzzle her, or, like, touch her wing with his or whatever, and she'd just, like, immediately just, like, coo and, be whatever. I thought that was really cute. So that he did a really good job of just, and this goes back to older episodes, he did a really good job of writing for Nocturne and Horizon as not being human in a blah 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 suit.
The thing that makes it weird is that for the most part at the beginning, Horizon definitely was a human in a griffin.
Yeah, because
suit. It wasn't until he got the mind upgrade that he started to just be a griffin. And that's like a big major point of that scene when he gets the upgrade, when his limbs start behaving properly and he's he's like, I've only been wearing this body before, but now it's actually me.
And there's a couple times. So the thing is that when you're uploaded into the game, you're not trapped in the game forever. You actually have the ability to temporarily upload yourself into a robot shell in the real world to continue to do work and earn money. And so,
and Ludo even will she'll transfer your brain package, let's call it, to another online server if you decide you don't want to live in her world but want to live in somebody else's.
She's
benevolent, which is very lucky for the story.
There's actually a plot point where it's revealed that, and I correct me if I'm wrong, is the America's version of Ludo Faith or Faye?
I think it's Faye. But it might be. I think it's Faye, as in like fairies, yeah. But it might. Now that you said Faith, I'm like, maybe it is Faith, and maybe it just wasn't good at the TH sound, so we couldn't hear it. Because with how hyper religious they made the Americas, it would make sense for it to be called Faith. Yeah.
So essentially, America.
Audiobook problems. I don't have the text. I can't check.
America created their own version of Thousand Tales, and it's run by a much more malevolent AI that either is named Faith or named Faye. But it is actively trying to destroy Ludo because Ludo.
Yep, they actually.
Ludo is a threat because she is a independent actor, and what the Americas want is to pull the
to subjugate its people,
and pull the free states back into the Union. And to do that, they need to first take out Ludo because she is not them and therefore an enemy.
Yep, there's actually a chapter where they find a box that has somebody's uploaded brain in it, and the README file kind of says like, hey, I was one of the developers who made Ludo. I then went to work on a competing project because I got scared of Ludo, basically. Like, what have I created? And then he wanted to try to whistleblow because what he was working on was going to be much worse. And then, so they killed him, forcibly uploaded his AI, his mind into the machine, and then started to tamper with it. They tried to reprogram it to make him more obedient. They actually changed who he was. But before they could, like, I guess, fully do it, he had a machine throw his brain box out the window so he could escape that way. Yeah. But the point is, the Americas are resorting to reprogramming their citizens to be obedient. Because the Americas AI, Faith, whatever, does not have your best interest at heart. It has the country's best interest at heart.
And then that also leads me to another reason why I fucking hate Linda as a character. So she's going to be my Becca, because she gets this package. She gets this essentially a weapon that will help any other actor destroy Ludo. And she decides to release it onto the web as like a haha gotcha against Ludo. And Ludo briefly shows like absolute anger. Like, congratulations, you've just set back everything that I was doing for, years. And she goes, but it's okay, I'll adapt. Like, she gets briefly angry and then quickly just like...
Okay, so the box wasn't a weapon to destroy Ludo. The box was the uploading method that the America's Faye program used, which was barbaric compared to what Ludo did. And so Ludo gets upset because by releasing that, it's like other people are going to try to copy it because this uploading is the pot to go to the end of the rainbow that everybody wants because the virtual world is heaven.
Yeah, you're right.
And so they're going to resort to this barbaric method that is going to kill people. And Linda's like, well, then I guess you have to release your method.
Oh, you're right. Okay, I misread that situation then.
Yeah, she was trying to force Ludo into making her uploading method open source, because if you really care about people, then you won't keep this to yourself if it's really as good as you say it is.
And Ludo does react with like, oh, you bitch. And then like quickly collects herself and goes, well, all right, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. If this is what makes you happy. And that's one of the biggest themes with Ludo is everything that everyone does, even when it's against Ludo. Ludo's like, as long as you're happy, as long like my job is to.
Towards the end, she's literally being attacked by militants, by hackers, and by all sorts of things, and she's fighting back with her own white hat hackers and whatnot. And at one point, it's like, why don't you just like kill them? It's like, I can't. This is basically fun for them, and I should let them have their fun. So I'm gonna try to subdue them non-lethally.
Yeah, and like. Even to the point where Linda's brother Linda's brother is recruited. He has a
He's tricked into being a suicide bomber.
He's got a bomb inside his body, and he's holding a dead man switch, and he's in a facility that could cause severe damage to Ludo's systems. And she manages to talk him out of it, but like Ludo is literally treating this like some sort of puzzle game. Like we're gonna let him do what he wants. It's not my actual facility, but he's close enough to it that it might hurt. And it's like Ludo doesn't want anybody. She's not, at least in this book, there is no evidence that Ludo is actually malicious or evil. She is at the worst, an unknowable factor. But she does, like even though Linda has resisted everything and caused actual problems for Ludo still constantly is like, do you want to just log into the game and talk to Typhoon? Do you want to just, sit with me and play chess?
At a couple of points, she's like, I still care about you, Linda, you conniving little monster.
It's like, what if GLaDOS didn't want to kill Chell? Like that's basically Ludo for most of Linda's storyline. But it in the end, the I guess you could say the major climax of the book is there's a fair, like a technology fair, like a giant carnival ground covered in like robots and synths, and they're trying to showcase the technology that they have and why you should upload. And they even have one of the creators of Thousand Tales, what are called the Sages, standing there, informing everybody like, hey, this is not just like some fancy tech demo. We're trying to get you to upload. We're showing you why it's okay. And he goes, but feel free to wander around, ask questions, and interact with the exhibits, because the exhibits are essentially people who have already uploaded now piloting synthetic bodies. And so Horizon, the main character, is piloting a synthetic gryphon robot body in the real world and trying to, interact with children and answer questions and stuff. And then all of a sudden, he starts losing control of his body and starts viciously attacking people.
Yeah, that's when the attack on Ludo happens.
He suddenly shuts down. He's suddenly forced back into Thousand Tales, and Ludo is very busy trying to deal with the situation, and she finds out that it was a coordinated attack by hackers. They've taken control of all of the synths in the fair, and they're now just straight up attacking people. I don't ever think they use the word kill, but basically trying to undermine the safety and security of Thousand Tales. And so Ludo shuts it down, finds the exploit, patches it, and then re-uploads everybody from Thousand Tales back into new synthetic bodies that have failsafes that need to be, they're more hardwired and can't be interacted with wirelessly. And she has them go around and reassure everyone, like, hey, listen, like, this was a hacking attempt. This was not Ludo. And Linda, who is also there, basically, she has this epiphany. She's like, I want humanity to understand that, like, there's a purpose to being alive. And she goes, but I don't want to win this way. And so she's like, you know what? Fuck it. If you want to upload, do it. She goes, but, like, this was not Ludo's fault. Don't take this out on her. And to me, that, like, immediately redeemed her character to me. But, I mean, that's because she's now on quote-unquote my side.
It was part of her character growth, because the entire book she's all like, we're going to make this country great again, because we're going to fix it. We're going to get the secessionists to come back, because we're going to fix all the problems. She wants to become a politician so she can fix America, because she loves America, because that's the way she was raised. And then when she finds the box with the murdered and forcibly uploaded and altered person, and they discover that it was the American
government.
Was it the NSA?
Yeah, I think it was the NSA.
National Security Agency. Finds out that it was America that did that, and she's like, my country's not as good as I thought it was. And so she basically defects. She leaves the country, she resigns her citizenship and ends up living on this island, which I think is part of the Free States.
I think it's Cuba. Isn't it Cuba?
Yeah.
She moves to Cuba where basically there's people who have her same mentality, where they don't think that Thousand Tales is evil. They just don't like the concept of uploading. There's a lot of synthetics that are free, independent AIs that are living in this essentially a flotilla colony. And you have to earn your way. You have to, contribute to the well-being of the community. But it is essentially people who are not rejecting technology, and because there are AIs, illegal ones, according to America, who are interacting and being a part of a community. And she uses that as a springboard to show people like, hey, we can make this work. You just need to give it a chance. And that is admirable. And it's like, she's going about it the right way, but America is, like evil. And is trying to basically America's thought process is if everybody's so keen on this fucking Thousand Tail shit, we're going to make our own, and where we can reprogram your fucking brain and you'll do what we say. Overall, like I said, every single little plot hole that I thought was going to come up was, even if it was, like a dialogue is revealed like this, that, and the other thing. And my thought process is like, well, what about this thing? And then not even paragraphs later, they address it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. It really felt like the writer knew what the fuck he was talking about, which made me really happy. Because as much as I love Ready Player One, I like the concept of it. I will say it was an objectively bad book and movie, but as I like the core concept, there were so many plot holes that made no goddamn sense. And a lot of these types of things don't make any sense. Like the very first type of media that I ever personally experienced about being trapped in a video game or being uploaded into a video game was the Dot Hack series on PS2, where you fight a corrupted monster, and when you die, it basically copies, because you have to use a headset, a full VR headset. It copies your brain pattern and uploads it into the game. And you are now stuck in the game permanently, and your human body is in a coma. And a lot of people end up dying because they live alone and they're just in their apartment and no one knows to check on them. But a lot of people end up in the hospital or whatever, and they can't log out. They're stuck in the game. And if they die in the game while their body's in a coma, then they're dead. And so and then there was the anime where Tsukasa, the main character, can't log out. He's essentially unconscious on his floor in his room in real life, and he can't log out of the game. And so to some people it's horrifying, but to me it's like, that's so cool. Like, I want that to happen to me.
You're just a monster. All right. Anything else you want to talk about specifically from the book? I think I went through most of my notes over here. There's only one I didn't really talk about, but I don't think it's really that important.
The reminder?
No.
Oh, no, that's something else. Okay.
I guess I just wanted to mention how the book kind of has like some otherkin undertones, mostly because of how much Paul fell in love with the Gryphon body after his one VR stint in it. Like, it just felt so, like, right to him, I guess. Like, I had wings, you don't understand. The mankind's dream of flying, it's there. She's found a way to make it possible. But then, like, I want to point out, like, when in future scenes, when he's a human in the real world, he still refers to, like, his hands as talons every now and then on accident. Or, like, rather than he wants to punch this person in the face, it says he wanted to talon swipe them. He's using Gryphon verbiage instead of human, even though he's currently physically a human. I guess just because he found the body that he wants to be in, and I guess that weighed into his desire to upload. I don't know, I just felt like that was a nice, fun thing to point out.
Yeah, no, it really was. It's like...
Just like another fun thing to point out was the Green Sage was a furry. Because I believe, forgive me if I'm wrong, it was a he in the real world, but then once uploaded was a female skunk with character.
Green swirls.
So there's possibly some trans stuff going there. I don't know. But also later on in a meeting when they're doing the hexapod meeting just for fun, like people just with weird shaped bodies, like, is there a bias towards it in the code or whatever? Like, I mean, we know that Green was a furry. Lady help us all. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, and they also found that there were some biases in there, like there was a bias toward
It's a bias to left-handed.
left-handed because one of the creators was left-handed and thought it would be neat. You know, it's inconsequential. Just about the only evil thing that if you were to go through the entire book and find something that Ludo did that was evil, I think the only thing that would be considered evil is that one of the sages, the one who ends up as a skunk, actually had kill commands, like a kill code to shut down Ludo permanently. And he had it erased from his brain so that Ludo couldn't be stopped. But it wasn't like a haha, now I can do whatever I want. It's just Ludo just didn't want that.
It was a self-preservation.
It was a self-preservation thing. Like, this guy created me. He can destroy me. I'm just going to erase that little piece of his brain, which also unfortunately made him forget who his own name was.
Well, because I think like the way the code worked is if a person named X says this word, so by changing his name, it can never happen. He can never accidentally say it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Last thing I want to ask is, since this started out as a video game tailored to you and eventually turned into your own little personal bubble heaven after uploading, what would yours be?
Mine?
Your personally tailored game and or your personal heaven bubble
I
after
legit
uploading.
can't talk about that.
Why not?
Because it would be terrible. Terrible for... All right, so what I will say is that my personal so my biggest departure, because like I was fully on Horizon's side the entire time. The only deviation that I would make is that I don't care enough to be a little in-game police force and go around and dictate what other people can do. And I would just stay in my own little bubble world. I don't care to be an ambassador. I don't care to, interact with other people. I'd literally want my world to be segregated from everywhere else. And I'd want my own little personal, like, no one can come in here unless I want them to, bubble. And it would just be a jungle world where I can live out video games. I can live out whatever the fuck I want. Like
Can you not talk about it because it'd be degenerate?
Yeah, it'd be super degenerate.
That's okay. You can just say degenerate.
Yeah, it would be super degenerate. But aside from the degeneracy, there would also be, like I mentioned before, it's like, I realized how stupid it was to like, oh, can I get the newest game from the newest console? And it's like, I don't need that. I can live it. Hey, can you just turn my little bubble into Monster Hunter World for a bit? Like, I want to go.
Paul, you may be pleased to know I have all the books and also all the video games.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to be able to just like, if a new game comes out, I want to be able to just play it. Like,
the thing, copyright laws, you may not be able to play the new one. She only had the old stuff. Like, she mentioned Azeroth, which is Warcraft, because
I did like
it, at this point it was old enough that she had access to it.
I did like that they mentioned, because she's like Tamriel, which is EverQuest, and she's
Tamriel is Elder Scrolls.
Oh, that's right, it is. What the fuck was EverQuest's world? I don't know, whatever. But I like the fact that she was listing off like real things, and they weren't explaining it to the reader like they were dumb and never heard of it. It's like, if you've never heard of it, then that's you. That's sorry, we're moving on. It's like, I can upload you into this, or this, and it's like, there's probably some people who are like, what the fuck is Azeroth? And it's like, the book isn't gonna treat you like an idiot, and it's not gonna be like, Azeroth was a popular game, World of Warcraft
back in this time period.
And it's like, no, it's just
that died in 2024. It's like, it has been spoken. Yeah, it's dying.
But point being is that it's there for the people who know it, and they can go, and if you don't know it, then oh well, And I like that. I don't like when a book has to explain everything as if you just fell out of a fucking pod for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would do with my little personal bubble world. What about you?
Degenerate Jungle Island. Got it.
Yeah.
I would want... It's really complicated. Like, I would be like, can I have like 3 saved characters? Because again, I like explained before to Bentham, I can't play one game and be happy with that. Like these people who they found their dream game and they're going to play that and nothing else but that. And they're going to sink hours into it and they're going to mod the shit out of it and they're going to start to speed run it. And, I can't do that. Even Bantam does it to a small extent. He finds a new game and he'll sink 100 hours into it and then he's done with the game. But no, I will play this game for 5 hours, then I'll switch to this game for 10 hours, and I'll switch to this one for 5 hours, and this one for 20. I have to jump around. So I would want to have more than one tailor-made game / personal bubble that I just kind of jump between depending on my mood. But I think the big ones worth mentioning would be, there'd be one where I'd be a dragon, but I would be like an overlord and I would get to torment NPC villagers, which people could arguably see as evil, but you know what? They're NPCs.
Yeah.
I can be a tyrant in my fantasy world and not hurt anybody.
And I would love it if, in my fantasy world, I could have Ray visit. And
yeah, we can visit each other.
It's like, you know what? It's like, I think that would...
That's the beauty of a solo player experience that can be connected online.
It's like, because the danger is, as much as I'm loath to admit it, the danger is, yes, you will get bored of having everything you've ever wanted. And it's like, so maybe Ray invites me over to his world and we play Baldur's Gate 3 in real life, and with turns and dice, like a giant foam dice that materializes in front of you and you throw it on the ground and everybody looks at it and goes, yeah, I hit him. And the monster's like, ah, shit, that would be fun. And then, when we're done with whatever campaign that we've been doing for 2-3 years, then we can move back over to my world and I can show Ray just how dark my mind gets. Or lewd, I guess.
We can go. Yeah, it'd be fun to visit because you could come up with a lot of stuff to entertain yourself for quite a while, but eventually you'll run out of ideas, and that's when you go enjoy someone else's ideas.
And then use what I've learned in your world to cater. Oh shit, maybe I've never tried this. Hey Ray, let's go.
Yeah. What I kind of want to end this on is, I guess, a topic of heaven. Maybe, I don't know. Before we get into the closing stuff with make sure you have the emails and stuff so you can actually read them off properly this time. But there is a song that I listen to that I will have to find and post in the Discord music channel. Maybe I'll just clip out this 20-second bit and put it as the closing song this time. Who knows? But there's a song. I don't remember what it's called. Shit, it's on my list. Fuck, it's okay. I'm gonna find it later. I don't remember what it's called. I'm sorry, people. If you know, scream at me. But it's like a weird little electronic song. It's just made to sound good. It's not quite trance, but it's kind of there. But it starts out with just an audio clip, which sounds like it was taken from something, and I don't know what. And again, if you know what, let me know so I can watch what it came from. Because I'm very interested. I know, right? But the audio at the beginning it sounds like a guy giving a lecture, and the audio quality is kind of old, like maybe it was like a movie from the 40s or something. I don't know. But the audio is basically like, let's run this mental thought. If you could control your dreams and dream what anything you wanted in the whole world, you of course would experience every night you'd go to bed and you would experience every type of pleasure manageable. You would be rich. You would have whatever you wanted. All your wildest fantasies would come true. But then after a while, you'd get bored and be like, you know what? Let's try something else. Let's try something random. Let's let the dream decide what happens. And you would, because you got bored, you would start to experiment and let's see what just happens on its own. And even you do that a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually you would give up control completely because it's no fun if you can control it. And eventually you would end up in a dream world that is exactly like the real world. And it's just an interesting mental thought that eventually heaven gets boring and you go back to being immoral. Which is, I guess, to just briefly touch on religion, the concept of the Christian heaven where you go and you live forever with other people and it's happy and it's fantasy and whatever. First off, any true heaven would be a bubble heaven because what makes me happy does not make Bantam happy, and vice versa. Well, yeah, because
if you look at what common media describes as heaven, like in comics and whatever, it's fluffy white clouds, people with white robes and wings and playing harps, and that's it. And nothing ever happens.
But even in your own bubble heaven, after a while you would get bored of it. And to me personally, the actual true heaven is the option to become mortal again. Like
not with what I'm doing in my bubble world.
Eventually, after 10 Jeremy Bearamys.
Oh, the time knife. Yes, we've all seen it.
Yeah, the thought is like in heaven you could become a god yourself and make your own little world, and you get to pull the strings now and whatever. And it's like other people in the afterlife could be like, you know what? Can I live on your world for a bit and go for it?
I think honestly, I would be content spending 30, 40 years just developing a massive island, like let's say half the size of Hawaii, and just populating it with creatures and trying to balance an ecosystem, essentially a world builder in my own little personal bubble. And I live like in like a little research lab, safe from all of them, and I can just, tweak things. And once I have a perfect ecosystem, then I can go play in it. Like that would entertain me for probably an entire lifetime. And yeah, it's like that's just one of my ideas. So it's like I personally, and again, it's an unknowable, but I personally feel like I don't think I could ever get bored. I think that I would constantly...
You won't know until you try.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like...
Okay, I found it.
You found it?
I found the song.
What's it called?
Yep. It's called Bagos Thoughts. Bagos. It's called Bagos Thoughts. It's a YouTube video. The YouTube channel is Kia Beats.
Okay, and you're going to throw that in there?
Yeah, it's a lo-fi, relaxing heartbeat song is what it is categorized as. Comments are disabled, so I can't even ask people on the video like, where's this audio from? But I'll throw it into the music channel.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us as we discussed this book, and actually I think less than half the episode was about the book itself and more about the ethics of AI and uploading and stuff because, oh boy, this book makes you think. But thank you for coming with us. If you have any thoughts you would like to contribute, please email us or join the Discord and let us know. But in general, Bantam, how can they get a hold of us?
So we do have a Twitter. It is @officialwadpod. Our email, if you'd like to reach out to us and ask a question or make a suggestion or just interact.
Tell Ray he's wrong and he's
stupid, and that I'm right and I'm amazing. The email is wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. Our Patreon is patreon.com/worldofdragonspodcast. And we do have a Discord, which will be linked in the show notes.
Because Discord links are
they are. Well, because it is KFJH74. No. Is it possible to get a custom Discord link?
I don't know. You can there's probably a website where you can make your own custom link, like TinyURL.
Well,
you
TinyURLs expire, so.
I know, but the point is there may be something like that. You can be like, custom link, which just reroutes to this link, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Anyway, next episode, we are going to be doing a physical book. No audio. Very sad.
It's okay because
because one of our listeners and Discord members has written this and has asked us to cover it, and we are more than happy to. So, if you write dragon books, join the Discord and pedal.
Like shame-free pedal, because I mean, like there are books that don't need our help, that don't care what we think, like Aragon.
And also, this is how we find the hidden gems.
It's like, man, I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, if I wrote a book and nobody ever read it and no one gives a shit, I don't know if I'd want to keep going. I mean, for me anyway, I know there's plenty of people who don't care and they're like, I need my vision out there.
They create for the sake of creating.
But for me, I create because I want people to be happy. And if nobody's reading it, no one's happy, then
he needs feedback to know what he's spending his time with it.
And so for an independent creator who writes their own book and they want people to listen to it, don't feel ashamed at asking us to cover your book. We will do so happily, especially if it's about dragons. If it's like this book,
especially if you give us free copies.
But well, I mean that would be ideal because I mean like we do still have to pay for server fees and all this other stuff. It's like
and buying 3 copies of something can get up there, but we manage. It's fine. That's why our Patreon is
so. If you have a book that you wrote and it is from a non-human perspective, and that is the key. Like this book wasn't about dragons. There were dragons in the game, in the book,
but most of the POV was from a griffin. But even then, I think the talk about transhumanism was very important because I understand a lot of our listeners are either furries or otherkin or people who just like non-human point of views and like the thought that they could eventually be not human. And so transhumanism is I feel like a very important topic to our audience. But yeah, if you're not an author, but you have read a book that you think we would love, then by all means suggest that too. We will most likely get to it eventually. There's just a lot of stuff on our plate, and we kind of move through it really slow because Bantam and Dilettante, I need to give them breaks on books every now and again so they don't burn out completely. But we'll get to it eventually. Everything that is suggested to us, I remember, and we will get to it at some point. This podcast, I hope, goes for 10 plus years, so yeah. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names, listener who wrote this. But the book is Lohi Carmen by Carmine Bruzzi. If I said that wrong, please scold me. I will go ahead and put the Amazon link in the audience chat. And I'll even put it in my own layer, just so people who aren't part of the audience members stand tier level can see it. All right. So yeah, that's the book we'll be doing next time. But yeah, thank you for coming and joining us, and we hope you enjoyed your stay.
We'll see you next time.
See ya later.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure. And after several nights, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. Then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now.